Susan here. Heather absent.
There's an awful echo. You might want to put phones on mute.
Is it from me?
I think so.
Yes, that's better though.
I didn't do anything. I'll just stay farther away from the mic maybe. Anyway, also with Tony Tazi
Here.
and Catherine Hedgeman.
Kate.
So, adopting the April meeting minutes, has everyone had a chance to read them?
I believe so.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we adopt the April executive board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
A second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So the meeting minutes are adopted. Okay, moving on to the board meeting agenda items. The potential agreement with Steve Martini pending the Finance Committee review and recommendation. How are we going with that?
Well, that has, yesterday Steve withdrew his proposal, and it comes as a result of a couple conversations I've had. So I reported on this in the A&D meeting, and Sharon is aware of it, but I'll fill you in, Suzanne. So I've been trying like heck to submit my quarterly report, round 4.2 amended budget, my round 4 amended budget, and my disbursement request to Tanya. And when I submitted it, she came back with a bunch of questions. And I had a conversation with her, and I said to her, you know, how are other land banks getting this done with just one person? And she said, well, you know, maybe you want to talk to Oswego. And she mentioned another place, but she especially suggested Oswego because she felt they were much more like we are and how we operate. So I talked to the executive director at Oswego, Kim, and she explained to me that she doesn't really do the financial reporting. She uses Bowers Accounting for their accounting and bookkeeping. And she said that Bowers completes all the financial reporting, and she as executive director looks it over to make sure all the programming parts are right, and so that she doesn't see anything that is obviously in error. And she sends it to Tanya, and she said it's been a relatively smooth process, which I would take to mean, I would take that anyway, because Tanya, you know, essentially referred me to her to talk to. So I called Bowers, and I talked to them about how they're doing things for Oswego, and I asked them if they could start doing that for us. And in particular, this one report that I'm desperate to get into Tanya so we can get a disbursement going. So Bowers is working on that report now, and they will have it done by the end of this week, they expect. So, you know, I'll be curious to see how that goes when it moves on to Tanya. So there was a special finance committee meeting kind of teed up for yesterday, and it sounded very much like Steve Martini did not want to serve as CFO if he had to work with Bowers because of issues that Kate has found with them, he's found with them, and doing the Paris reporting, and, you know, frankly, some stuff that I saw. For me, after I talked to Oswego, I had a different perspective on Bowers, and it was that, well, you know, maybe I'm really not using them as effectively, because Oswego clearly is, and Tanya is happy with that. So let me see what happens if they take on this one report that's really 5 reports in one. So, so that's kind of how Steve Martini decided to withdraw his proposal.
Okay. Do we have anyone else lined up or?
No, finance is scheduled to meet Monday morning, and Sharon will draft the agenda, but I'm pretty darn sure there'll be a conversation about, where we go from here, kind of thing. So,
How does his being here or not, being on the team or not, affect, getting projects done like the, River Street or whatever?
I'm not following you, Suzanne.
Does his appointment have any effect on getting our funding to finish River Street or move on to anything else?
I actually think the fastest way to get there is through Bowers. And I say that only for these reasons. They're putting the report together, the financial part of it, the same way they do it for Oswego, which is an established format that they've done before. And Steve hasn't even seen, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't even seen what the basic quarterly report looks like, let alone the added pieces to this particular report. So, so I actually think going down this path, whether it turns out that Bowers is a long-term solution for any of this or not, at least for this one report, I think it's the most expeditious way to do it. Given that I've banged my head against the wall, and what I keep saying is I can't see the numbers for the trees anymore because I have like a 12-tab Excel sheet, which is just a monster for me to try to figure out. And it's beyond I've concluded it's beyond my expertise to do that.
I wouldn't even know where to start, so I hear you.
Yeah, I know where to start. I just don't know where to finish.
Well, I think, just some of the issues that we saw with Bowers, that if you can work through them and get them to fix them, and then maybe start in January with a new QuickBooks file, there's just so many journal entries that are not classified, at least the last time we looked at it. And, there's a couple other idiosyncrasies. Vendors weren't entered properly. We're still going to have the same issue at the end of the year when we're trying to extrapolate data from a QuickBooks file that's a mess for the Paris report. But it's not impossible, but it's just, it takes way longer than it really should. And I don't think, and quite frankly, the sky fell back in February and March. So,
Yeah.
We're not really following the proper document retention protocols and things that we should be, just because we've been remote, and also, the financial situation. I mean, there's just so many things going on that, I think, to ask anyone to come in and try to correct the bookkeeping piece at this point would be unfair. So as long as we continue to push Bowers and to work with them, and maybe have them start a new file at the beginning of next year, and have a real good discussion with them about what we think it needs to look like, and let them say, we agree, we don't agree, or whatever, you probably could straighten that out. As far as month to month, Tony would be able to tell you, and what happened towards the end of last year, with them. But, I think it's going to take some work no matter what you do, whether it's work with Bowers and fix it, or, you get some assistance in-house with it.
Well, one of the things I intend to do is to call Oswego again to talk more about, how she's able to do the whole overall staffing of the land bank in a way that it sounds like it's working better than it is here. So, I think there's some things that I can learn from Oswego beyond this.
Yeah, and those reports are critical. So if Bowers can be helpful there, it is in the best interest of the land bank and Tony's best interest too, to get some assistance there. But the issue remains, we've got to work through some of the other things.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually, I need to develop a laundry list so that I can sit down and have a conversation with Patty at Bowers. So,
And Tony, I have some thoughts there that we can go over, and maybe we would do that on Monday. We can do that ahead of time if you'd like to, but I have some thoughts there.
I'd say it's your call. If you want to talk about it before the meeting, I'm available. If you want to just do it at the meeting, that's fine by me.
Okay.
Whatever works for you.
Okay. I wasn't going to drag Suzanne and Brian into it unless they feel like they have some input for us. We would be happy to have some input. But I do have some thoughts to discuss with Patty, some things that Kate and Steve recognized, and I recognize as well, that should be fixed in QuickBooks. But I also have some additional thoughts, things that we should ask Patty, and the possible change in direction, and maybe things that we want to ask Oswego what they're doing differently as well. So,
Okay.
one is real basic. I don't know if we're even using the same QuickBooks, the same type of QuickBooks, or if Oswego has a different type of QuickBooks file, if we even have the correct subscription, the correct QuickBooks subscription, or whether we need to up our subscription to have more available to us. I mean, that's something simple, but I have a few ideas along those lines, just to make sure that we have the right platform in place for anybody to be able to work with and do our books better, correctly. So it's one of the thoughts, but I have a few more. So
Okay.
I could go into more detail, either at the finance committee meeting, or if you want those thoughts earlier, I could certainly do that sooner rather than later. If you're planning to have a conversation with Oswego and or Patty sooner than that.
Well, I wasn't planning on having a conversation with Patty until I get this report
Mm-hmm.
behind me. That's really job one. And I don't want to parasite too much of your time because I know how busy you are. But if you want to talk before if you want to talk before the committee meeting, I'm definitely available. If you want to wait until then, that's fine too. I mean, don't want to have you have to say the same thing 2 or 3 times.
Okay. Well, I would probably wait until the finance committee meeting so that we can have all of the minds together, unless, like I said, unless you were trying to make a phone call ahead of time, in which you need some input sooner rather than later.
I don't see why I can't wait until after finance committee.
Sharon, did you want me, it's Kate, to be at the finance committee meeting or no?
Kate, if you are available, I would say sure, absolutely, because you were knee deep into the Paris reporting this year, and you are aware of some of the issues that we had and what we're trying to fix and where we're trying to go with this.
Okay.
So if you're available, I'd say, yeah, that would be great.
And what was that date and time?
Kate, did I send you the invite? I thought I did.
Not sure.
I believe
Well, I can
Monday at 8:30.
I had it on the calendar. I just didn't have the actual invite. That's all.
Okay,
No problem, Tony.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'll get it to you. I thought I
Okay.
did. I apologize. Okay,
Okay, moving on.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, the potential approval of purchase agreement with Beacon for 6 River Street lots. We are waiting for their appraisal.
Yeah, and I've tried to contact Tim O'Byrne at least twice to ask him for an update, and I haven't gotten anything back, which is really, really rare for Tim. So I'm not sure if there's a reason for that. I suspect that there is, and I suspect that it's probably not good. But until I talk to him, I'm not going to know really what the status is. I put it on this agenda because I was hoping to give you an update, and I can't because I haven't connected with him.
Okay, we'll just have to wait. It is what it is.
I was gonna just say that.
What is what it is.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to the reports, I guess, did you want to say anything else about the Oswego Land Bank?
No, I think I covered all that. And the enterprise report status as well.
Okay,
So
what about Bonadillo and our 990 IRS filing exemption?
I was contacted by Alan Walters, or I might have contacted him. I'm not sure who started the conversation first. But he mentioned that he's working with Albany Land Bank to get them exempted from the 990 IRS filing. And he mentioned that Bonadeo has already crossed the finish line with that for, I think, the Niagara Falls Land Bank. So he asked me if I'd be interested in him doing that for us. And I think he said the fee would be $1,500. And to me, $1,500 is going to be far less than it would cost just to do the filing 1 year, I'm guessing. But it also frees up my time, whoever's going to do the accounting, their time, and we avoid being open to IRS scrutiny for the 990. So I thought for $1,500 it was really a smart thing for us to do.
I have a question about that, and this is a legal question. So, Kate, considering our relationship with the city of Troy and how it seems to be different than what most of the land banks have, is it really likely, is it really representative to say that we are a unit of the city of Troy? Is that a correct statement? Is that something that we could legally represent based with the relationship that we have with Troy? Because that's what we're trying to say.
It's complicated. I would need to see the regulations, and of course I've asked for those and I haven't seen the IRS regs that they're hanging their hat on. I do know the gist of it though. And here's where I tend to disagree, at least right now, without seeing all of it. And here's why. There's public authorities in the state of New York, and some of them are even state authorities, like, for example, the Dormitory Authority, the Thruway Authority, okay? They're formed under the New York State Public Authorities Law. Local authorities are generally like a local development corp, let's say, are brought into being, well, no, that's a bad example. Let's use IDAs. So the IDAs are legislated into being by the council in that particular municipality, and those members are appointed by that municipality. So an IDA conceivably really is a governmental unit or an extension of the city, right? Or the town, whatever the case may be. here you have a very strange animal that is formed. A land bank is formed pursuant to the New York State not-for-profit corporation law. And 5 years ago, when we started the land banks, when I was on board early with Troy and Albany, we had this discussion with Bonadeo. And at the time I said, I would normally agree with you, but you're looking at this in that it's formed under municipal law or a public authorities law, not the not-for-profit corporation law, right? So even the banks, when we talked about collateralization and all of that, said, you know, there's certain requirements for that, and then turned around and said, oh, wait, you're not a municipal entity, you're formed under the non-for-profit corporation law. So it's tricky because the legislature and their infinite wisdom, and you know, now it's hindsight's 2020, but if you look at the statute that governs a land bank, it's non-for-profit law. And then it gives the power to the city, the council, the mayor's office to make the appointees to the board. So in a sense, you know, it is connected to the city of Troy, and the Land Bank Act requires a governmental unit like the city, like the county, to found the land bank. So I think what Bonadeo is hanging their hat on is that the municipality, the governmental unit, has to legislate it into being, but yet it's not under the general municipal law like an IDA, it's under the non-for-profit law. So, you know, I think if the IRS is going to buy it, great, but legally, I don't know, you know, without doing a thorough analysis of the IRS regs, I think it's a unique animal, and it's for this same reason that I'm discussing now, that the land banks and the Land Bank Association, I think, has had a problem getting land bank employees into the New York State retirement system. Because, again, it's not formed under the public authorities or the general municipal law. So if you held a gun to my head, I would say, I probably disagree with what Bonadeo is saying legally, but I could be persuaded if the IRS regs are, you know, could be read broad enough and they can get them to buy it, then why not? You know, it doesn't harm anything. I'm sorry that was such a long explanation, but.
No, that's actually really helpful. So basically, my understanding is that the land bank could not come into being without being associated with a city or county. However, there is a limited relationship. So the question becomes basically, is it enough for the IRS kind of thing? Is that
right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sure there's a test, and if they can get them to buy into that, then I think, you know, there's no harm in it and it's fine. But for a strict legal analysis, you know, if you were to tell me it's an IDA, I'd say absolutely. Yeah, I agree with Bonadeo 100%, but it's not formed under that section of the law. And, you know, generally the IRS folks that review these types of applications kind of gloss over it. And as long as it's related to the municipality, I think that's how they're qualifying it. And who knows how Niagara is formed. Part of the test might be they share employees. So if those employees work for the land bank and the city, that might be part of the test. Like there's a closer relationship there. I don't know. You know what I mean? So
I know exactly what you mean, and that's kind of the reason I was asking, because we seem to have a little bit different, kind of a unique situation where we don't seem to have as much backing from the city of Troy as some of the other land banks do, where they actually, in some cases, occupy city or county office space and use city or county staff and all that. And we seem to be kind of a different animal. That's why I was asking. So,
and they don't even
almost
fund,
seem
fund you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it seems to me it's kind of a marginal connection with a governmental entity. So I don't know how marginal we can go before they say, no, you're not, there's not enough of a connection here for you guys to be exempt. I don't know, but okay, but that is very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. I guess moving on to the next topic, the potential fiscal year 2020 Paris reporting.
So this actually comes out of my conversation with Oswego too. Kim told me that she has their accounting firm do the Paris reporting. So when I talked to Alan Walters, I asked him if that's something he could do. I didn't ask him because I wanted him to do it. Steve did an outstanding job for us. And I would hope that he'd still be interested to do it. And I had this conversation before Steve withdrew his proposal. It was on this agenda, before that happened. But just kind of letting the executive committee know that I had that conversation. If for any reason we wanted Bonadeo to do the Paris reporting, they could do it. Personally, I wouldn't recommend it because we are in good shape with who we have. The difference is, I think we were charged $3,500 to have Steve do it, and the charge would be $1,000, might have been $1,500 if Bonadeo did it. My personal opinion is that it's better to spend a little bit more money to get it done, to get that in particular done right, than to not. But that's my personal opinion. Could be
Well,
wrong.
when they see all the work that's involved extrapolating numbers from the Bowers books that we have, that's where the cost comes in. It shouldn't be, but you can't run a vendor report.
That makes sense.
And a lot of the document backup we have to get from you too, Tony, on occasion. And
Yeah.
it's difficult to put all that together because it's not readily available. So that's really where the cost comes in, is the data being available and the ability to just say, oh, hey, here's who our vendors were for this year, all over 15,000. And here's what we paid them. Here's when we paid them. Here's what it was for.
Yeah, Kate, I'm just reporting the cost. I'm not editorializing at all. I think Steve did a
Oh,
great.
no, I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying that's really, it shouldn't cost that, but it does because, and I think if Bowers got in, or excuse me, Bonadeo got in there and saw our books, they'd be like, okay, or they would do what Bowers does and relies on numbers that aren't correct or complete, then that's why, that's all.
So the bottom line for Suzanne and Brian is going to be time. It's going to be a time-based thing. So I'm sure Bonadeo is throwing $1,000 out there, assuming that everything is very clean and easy to work with. And the reality could be that the time could easily take $3,500 like it did this past year. It's all time-based. So it's going to be a matter of how much time is required to do the work. So it just to be clear, Bonadeo is going to throw a number out there under the assumption that everything is really clean and easy to work with. So I just want everybody to know, in the field, it's very much based upon time. So that whole time element is of great importance, and therefore cleaning up the QuickBooks file is of great importance in order to have a quick and easy preparation. So, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask me, but it's basically all time-based.
Okay. So moving on, other,
What did you think of the Mets game last night?
there was a Mets game?
No, I'm kidding. Just throwing that in as a sarcastic.
We had a nifty demonstration the other day.
I saw that. I literally saw that.
Just to keep you abreast on social media, Richard Herrick wanted to know who the new board members were and whether or not the city council had appointed the appropriate number of board members and the Lansingburg school system, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, the city has to appoint one, the city council, and I think that is in motion, based on a couple emails from Steve Streichman. Lansingburg School District, I don't know. They've never showed an
So we
interest.
do have one new board member, correct?
Yes. Shoot, it'd be nice if I could remember board members' names. She works for Trip as a,
Is it Christina?
yes, that's it. Thank you. With a K. She lives in North Central. She's a woman of color. She works at Trip as I believe, a mortgage counselor. So I thought, I mean, personally, I thought the mayor made a really, really good selection. So we'll see what the city council does.
So is she official or?
Yes, actually, she's been official for several months. She came on the board, like right when this COVID thing pushed us into audio meetings, Zoom meetings, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember seeing her picture,
Yeah.
but didn't get a chance to talk to her or even say, hi, welcome or anything.
Well, now I'm back in the office, so now that I am, when I started talking, having conversations with her, I said we should get together. I can, give you the background of the land bank, answer any questions you have, blah 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 blah. And again, COVID hit, so maybe it's time to have that meeting.
Okay. Do you think it'd be a good thing, to post on Facebook that we do have a new board member?
Oh yeah, geez, yeah.
Okay. What's her
yeah.
last name?
You know what? I'll get you that.
I'll just say, we welcome Christina, blah, 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 as our new board member appointed by the Troy City Council.
Yeah, I think what I should do is dig up the email that I have from the city that actually has her appointment date
Okay, cool.
and her first board meeting. How's that? And some more on her background. She sent me her resume.
Okay, that'll be great. Thanks.
Okay.
Anything else going on that the executive committee should discuss? Well, I guess we can adjourn the meeting then.
Thanks for chairing it, facilitating it.
So we're adjourning at 5:06.
Who was the first?
Oh, I have to do a motion. Is there a motion that we adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so made by Sharon and seconded by Brian. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned at 5:07 PM.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thank everybody.
Thanks.
Well.
See you
Bye, guys.
soon.